like what you said about the catalyst, like there is definitely something there where, it starts as something and then it moves to something else and it moves to something else. Like I just found every time I learned something new, I wanted to learn the next thing and the next thing. And I wanted to know the next step, and gradually started moving away from this version of myself, this identity that I like. The further away from it that I got, the less I wanted to, like, I just wanted to be, like put it in my past and say, like, I'm not
Right.
going back to that guy again because he had his day and he's done. So, we're going to build this new version. And that just became the catalyst for everything. And there was a point in my life where actually I did go back to that old way of living again and almost ruined and destroyed everything, but got back on the horse again. And, sometimes you have to go, you have to fall back a few steps, right? And I did that
Yeah.
a couple of times too. And when I did, when I actually crawled back out of it again and things got even better after that, it made me more like I had a lot of gratitude for, the direction that I was going then, because I realized again and again, I really don't want to go back to that way of life, because,
Mm,
it's just going to take everything. Um, but yeah, there's, you have to have, I think, mentors and people that, whether, reading books is great, but also, however you are, like whatever it is that you want to achieve in life, you're going to learn this from somebody, right? And sometimes it could just be one thing you hear from someone. It could be something you read in a book, something you see in a
mhm.
or hear on a podcast, or it could be an event that you attend, right? But you're going to pick up something, and if it sticks, you may want to be, you're curious enough to see, well, what could happen if I actually took action on this thing? And sometimes it just has to be the next little step and the next little step. And again, just back to something, I think Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn said this maybe, but the true measure of success is progress. And that's just the
Mhm.
one thing. That's how I like to keep things simple. Um, I'm always moving forward. Not always. I mean, sometimes I'll slow down and take a breath, which we have to do, but there's always something that's just pushing me forward, because if progress is the name of the game, I always want to be moving forward, even when I'm up against a lot of resistance, which is going to happen on the journey. So,
Right. And I think a key point you said here is the ups and downs of life, right? Especially, I think the start when you get into this space, you expect it to be an uphill, straight. Now that you're working hard, it's always going to be up from here, but sometimes you fall lower than where you started
mm-hmm,
just to pick yourself up to the next apex, right? To get to that next level. It's you almost have to see what rock bottom again is like, and you're like, oh, that's not it.
mm-hmm,
And even in my own personal experience, when you go and revert to your old ways, it almost doesn't resonate anymore with
mm-hmm.
like who you've become. You have this dissonance where it's like better, so it's not even feeling as good as it once did because you were, I guess, maybe in an ignorance state where you didn't
Mm-hmm.
know better. I don't know. What do you think?
No, that happened to me a couple of times. So yeah, so I mean, I battled with like alcohol for a long time, and that was pretty much my thing, right? So when I went back to it after like 3 or 4 years of not having any of it, and that was, like during those 4 years, that's how I got to Japan. That's how I was able to land a successful job and a career and everything. And then to go almost destroy all of it by going back to that. And then you're right, like now I was back at rock bottom again, going, I've been here before, and it's actually worse than it was last time.
Hmm.
And so after a year of that, I was like, nope, not doing this anymore. So I got more help again, got more invested in that, climbed out of that again. And I think I went back one more time. And then after that, I was like,
Hmm.
nope, not doing this again. And that was probably a good 15 years ago. And now, like, I couldn't even imagine it. But having said that, I realized that, you know, for anybody who's like, it doesn't matter whether you're in recovery or you're just trying to change your life or change your identity. Like, it's once you move away from the identity of yourself that, like you're done with that identity because it no longer serves your purpose, right?
Right.
Then you become something else. You try to go back to that, and like what you just said, it doesn't resonate with the new you. It's just like you know it, you can feel it. You're back to where you were. You're like, I don't want to be back here. Like, I don't know, moving out of an old house and into a new one. You go back to the old house because you want to relive those old memories, and it's not the same place anymore. Someone
Right.
else is living there. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like a moving forward type thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah, what advice do you have for people that are starting in this journey that perhaps maybe feel this sense of procrastination, or they can't get that momentum to build. I think that's
Mm,
the hard part, right? Because you said, and I've seen this countless times, progression, progress is the goal.
mm,
That's where you see the compound growth, where eventually something clicks and you start hitting those bigger goals that you had set as well, like traveling and such, right? There's that compound growth